morning, everybody. Oh, mind you, you won't have heard that, will you? Sometimes I check the beginning of the Coffee Mornings, and sometimes it clips us, other times it doesn't.
So maybe we should always just talk and say good morning, just in case they can hear us and see us.
Oh dear, maybe we're here now. Good morning, everyone. How are we? It's a house of GCSE. So we're going to have to finish promptly at 8 to 9 so that we can head off and do all of that kind of stuff. How are you feeling about your GCSEs?
My GCSEs.
You nervous? Stressed?
No, I'm not. I think it is what it is now. I think she's put so much work in.
Yeah, she has.
And as you know, I don't think they're the be and all and end all of life. So.
Well, yeah, we're at that point. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Star Wars, the first ever Star Wars?
Yeah, I remember it well.
And they come into the Death Star. And as they're coming into the Death Star to shoot the centre of the Death Star, they all come down into this sort of gully. And it's the final moment. And really, it's just, you've just got to do your best. You can't, you're not going to take any more into your head. You can't cram any more into your head.
Exactly.
You've got
what
you've
it
got.
is now.
Anyway, so some of the stories today. We've got trans kid banned from single-sex schools. We've got the male contraceptive could be here. Are you a people pleaser, killer hornets, and cold showers?
Well, we're not going to have time for all of that.
Well, I like to
they're
put them
great
in, and we
titles.
like to just sort of feel our way around them.
So, guys, just to say, I've been on the phone to the bloody doctors for so long this morning trying to get a doctor's appointment, and then I got told at the end, this queue is now full.
Oh, I hate that sort of thing.
So I don't know the stories today. I haven't had a chance to read them. So I'm with you, learning from the great one.
Oh, bloody hell. The Mekon. Do you remember the Eagle comic?
No.
With Dan Dare?
No.
And they had the green
Sorry,
Mekon.
we've done Star Wars and Dan Dare magazines.
Do you remember reading Tolkien? Okay, so this story is sort of top of many news websites. Transgender pupils can be rejected by single-sex schools. And so I want this to be a simple question. Is this transphobic? Because single-sex schools will be allowed to reject transgender applicants of the opposite biological sex.
Right.
I think the idea here is not entirely dissimilar to the idea of not allowing transgender people who've transitioned from men to women into, say, women's prisons and things like that. So I think there's this idea. Now, I think there are slightly different rules if you're a student at the school and you then wish to transition. The school will kind of support you. But there is this idea.
Is this in private schools or is this a government?
No, this is a recommendation from the Department for Education for state schools and private schools, but of a single sex. You get some state single sex schools, don't you? The document is also expected to say that teachers will not be forced to call children by their preferred pronouns. I mean, I think this is going to cause a lot of contention. So I just wanted to ask you guys: is this transphobic?
Well, I imagine if you are trans, it's going to feel incredibly transphobic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to feel horrible.
Of course, it's transphobic, says Sarah Biggie.
Yeah.
I mean. But does it tickle at the edges of that idea that, I think at a young age, if you've transitioned,
Why not?
Why not? I mean,
Why not?
Some single-sex schools do cater. I can think of a few that do in exceptional circumstances cater for the opposite sex sometimes. I mean, I remember Fleur went to a school where that happened. They would have a couple. I don't know if I agree with this.
I don't agree with it, but what I do think there needs to be more clarity with how teachers are to deal, because
especially as the woman yesterday was done for
with the pronoun thing, because there are people that are genuinely, wanted, like the girls have told us, haven't they? Like some people are just changing every 5 minutes their pronouns, young people, and that's experimental, and that's got nothing. That isn't what should determine completely what happens next. But I do think that teachers need some guidelines. Like I didn't like that yesterday, that teacher was forced to go and apologise because she'd said girls. Clearly that's wrong. But yes, this is transphobic, isn't it? I mean,
It is, and yet at the same time, we have a real dilemma as to how one can cater for both sides and keep both sides of the equation happy.
But see,
it's
the problem with this
difficult.
is this is a leaked document.
Yeah.
And this will be a discussion. This won't be a decision yet, will it? So the thing is with this will cause a lot of like anger and hate and argument, and it's probably not even going to happen.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I agree. Sarah Begley, when my son transitioned, the school had a small group assembly with his permission. He was able to use the disabled loo to change for PE, etc., and all the teachers respected his new name. That's lovely. I mean, that's a really tolerant way. I think what's confusing here for teachers is if I was a teacher, I would be absolutely shit scared how to deal with this.
Yes, that's the important thing here. I think we do need to look, because what you don't want is people not having the conversation because they're so scared they're going to make a mistake and say the wrong thing. And that is what's happening more and more. The dialogue is just shutting down in case somebody says the wrong thing. And I think it's like you always say, Mark, we're all learning about it. We're all learning about this new, we're kids of the 70s. So much of what is going on now is new to us. But
can I just say, MT2, I wasn't equating prison to school. All I was saying was that the potential policy has similarities to what they've been saying, what has been allowed in prisons and is now going to be prevented and stopped, isn't it? It's what's caused so much upset in Scotland.
Yeah.
Final thing on this is sometimes incredibly well-meaning, inclusive individuals who sit extremely on the, not that this is a left-wing, right-wing thing actually, but sit on the side of diversity, etc. If something like this becomes such a hot potato that you're worried about making the wrong move or saying the wrong thing, I think what ends up happening is people trip unexpectedly and accidentally into making something that could be read as... It's that thing of if you concentrate too much on holding a tray, you start to shake.
Yeah.
And I think that aspect starts to creep into certainly those who look after the welfare of our kids. So teachers will get to a place where they'll almost not want to deal with it at all for fear of offending someone.
Yeah. And we don't want that. We want to have a conversation.
And I think a really important thing you just said there is teenagers, it's an incredibly complicated, mixed up hormonal moment. And I think it's really important what you said. I can think of one person we know who started in the belief that they wanted to transition from a girl to a boy. And this is interesting. Once out of the specific school environment they were in, they stopped because they didn't want to. Which, so you know what I mean? So how do you cater for that? How do you cater for that?
Because you've got people that absolutely, that is their journey and that is absolutely what's going to happen. But there are people that get confused. Young people get confused.
Yeah.
And I suppose the people that are caring for our kids need some sort of guidelines. Yeah. But to say that if you are trans, you can't come into the school is...
Yeah, absolutely it is.
And I bet you anything, this is just a discussion. I don't think they're going to say, I don't think they're going to do that.
Well, the Girls School Trust, whatever it's called, have already started enacting something like this.
Oh, have they?
Yeah.
So that's at a private school?
The private. Girls Day School Trust, is it? Just finally on this, Gloria Chess, sorry, we're in quite a rush today. Gloria Chesham, I really don't know how I feel about all the changes going on. Scared to open my mouth nowadays.
And that's what we don't want.
That's what we don't want, absolutely. Another story today is the male contraceptive. What do we think about this? As this article interestingly pulls out, it's only taken 60 years.
I have never known a single one. We've been discussing this for years on Loose Women. Nobody has ever said anything different other than, I just couldn't trust that they'd taken it.
Really?
Every single woman I have ever asked this has said that. So there's a poll. Stick that up.
Would you trust a man
put that in your pipe and smoke
use
it?
The male pill? Okay.
I would absolutely not trust that you would remember it.
Oh, do you mean in terms of the sort of clumsy chaos of a man?
Yeah. And they'd go, oh yeah, I did take it. Because as a woman, you're like this. Because it is so much more...
don't want unwanted pregnancies.
No, but you cannot quantify how totally terrifying it is if you are not wanting to have a baby. The thought that you miss your pill, or if you're sick, and if you've had diarrhea, and working out all those things, does it still work? I just don't believe that the majority of men would have the same kind of attention to detail like I did when I was on the pill.
Do you know what I think most men would probably do with this? They would probably assume that, they've got it for them, but they will also assume it of the women anyway. There'll still be an assumption that women should take responsibility because it happens in a woman, in a sense. Do you know what I'm saying? The end result. But
I mean, obviously there will be many men, like the men that were used in the study for the contraceptive pill. I told you this before, that it was all just lies, that they stopped that initial research because men couldn't stand the side effects. It wasn't true. But so there will be many men that would be committed enough to do it. But the problem is, how do we trust that they're going to do it? And you know, if somebody's getting hot and bothered and you say, oh, did you remember to take your pill yesterday? Quite likely, after a couple of pints as well, they're going to say, yeah, of course I did.
The developers of the pill, our dream is that a pill for men will be taken half an hour before, and it will keep them essentially infertile and protected for the next 16 hours. I think the issue with male contraceptive, and obviously we had that funny moment.
Half an hour before, so it's not like you've got to take it every day.
No. This is no. It's not like a program of. It's like a morning before pill. And it's sort of half an hour before, it sort of switches off what they say here as a gene protein.
Jesus
key
Christ.
to switching off fertility. I mean, it sounds incredibly like an RNA vaccine, doesn't it?
Okay, so here's another thing.
Oh, okay.
If you're not in a committed relationship, how do you know he's not taking a vitamin C?
I beg your pardon.
When he says, I've taken one.
I
would have to give him the pill from the packet that I have kept in the drawer.
I think it's more the case of alcohol is more than often involved in a huge number of kind of, if you like, irresponsible moments of sex where, things. So if you're drunk, if you're drinking, are you really going to be thinking about popping a pill half an hour before? And how do you judge the timing? Do you know what I mean? Will you pop it when you get to someone's house and then go, let's just wait?
But I mean, these are all the same sort of things you could say for any contraception, couldn't you? You could say the same for Durex, you could use the same for a diaphragm, obviously a coil and the pill. Well, even the pill. Plenty of people do forget to take their pill or drink too much and are sick or whatever. So there's always going to be that. But this is revolutionary. If this
can happen. BK says maybe it's more of a pill for people in long relations. I mean, I think
it would happen.
I think we can all be a bit po-faced about it. I always find it fascinating that it's taken so long to get a contraceptive pill, and it's so quick to cure cancer or get to grips with cancers like prostate. There is a clear male bias in medical development, isn't it?
I am absolutely thrilled. It's taken how long? 60 years.
Yeah.
Well bloody done. I am whooping and jumping about. You just can't see it.
I can't. Oh, right, I see.
But inside I am. I want a different future for our daughters where it's not all the responsibility of a woman. We have so much we have to put into our bodies and take for our bodies. And it's just like, great.
Let's have a look. Would you trust a man to use the male pill? 85% say no. 15% say yes. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Well, I would have... You see, the problem is, I would say I would have used it, but I think for me it would have been the admin surround... You're right.
Just looking, it's hilarious. We've got to take a photo.
It would have been the admin surrounding it that stressed me out. Sorry? Do you need mum? Yeah. Nads, Kiki needs you.
Hey, baby.
I was going to talk about cold water because I was going to get Nads to talk about the merits of it. All I can say is I did 5 minutes in a shower and it's an absolute effing disaster. Just making sure trains are not an issue. It's GCSE day today. Oh, you're joking. You're joking?
No.
So which one's available? Sorry, guys, just 1 second. 9:23?
9:22.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's the male contraceptive pill. We might have to leave it a touch earlier, guys. I was final topic. I was going to talk about people.
I'm just going to have to head off, guys.
Yeah. Oh, are we heading off now?
Lovely lots. No, but I've just got to finish getting some stuff.
Okay.
I think we might need to...
Okay, people pleasing. Are you a people pleaser? Is anyone a people pleaser here? Let me ask you, would you consider yourself a people pleaser? Let's have a look. I certainly am. And especially when I'm going to run through...
this is a good topic.
Yeah, I'm going to run through 5 of the sort of pieces of evidence that suggest you are a people pleaser, and they're quite interesting. Are you a...
How to stay married.
Oh, well, maybe that could be... We're doing a how to stay married at some point soon. Are you a people pleaser? And this is interesting because this was a piece in the Stylist magazine saying how to tell if you're a people pleaser and how damaging it can be to you. And so I wanted to discuss some of the signs. Just depends who the people are, says Lamar. That's an interesting point. I'm a real people pleaser in what I call those kind of interconnecting moments in the world. Is it people pleasing or is it being polite and respectful? I don't like complaining in restaurants. I think it's really important to be really nice to everyone who works in the service industry because they get so many people horrible to them. But I think it's more in sort of friendship circles, social circles, and with relationships. Tez, yes, I'm always working on it. So it is hard to find the dividing line between people pleasing and just being a nice person. Yeah, absolutely. So let me just run through some of the some of the suggestions by a therapist here, therapist Amy Tran. And she says, let's have a look. Let's have a look at some of the things that suggest that you could be a people pleaser. People pleasers often want people to approve of what they're doing, whereas those who are being nice don't worry about being accepted or recognized for what they're doing. Do you worry? Do you want people to approve of what you're doing? Do you find that? Is it like you say what you're up to and you just need affirmation and you need them to sort of approve of it? You need them to sort of agree and support you and all that kind of stuff. You almost like your definition of your happiness is dependent on someone. It's a little bit like codependency. Gloria Chesham used to be a people pleaser, but not so much. Good Chip Lollipop, compelled speech is never a good idea. Edward Bevington being a gentleman is not people pleasing. Same for a true lady. Vicky Waiting, all the time. Bonnie Delaney, compassion and care are needed in the world. Boundaries important. Boundaries, yes, setting boundaries. Really, I find that really hard. Okay, so wanting people to accept what you do, that's one. She also says that people pleasers tend to be nice, even when it violates their own boundaries and values. This is a little bit like being in the street and saying sorry when someone else punches you in the face. While those who are nice do not put others before themselves if it means violating their own boundaries and values. This is someone being able to say no. I can't say no to anything.
I used to be
I struggle so much.
I used to be 100% total people pleaser.
Really?
Yeah.
But you've really changed over the years.
Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think what I've done is I've gone to the other extreme sometimes, trying to find the balance. Because as kids, when we were growing up in the 70s, nobody ever said anything like boundaries.
No.
I didn't know the word.
Oh, the only thing I understood boundaries to mean was when you hit the ball in cricket and it went for a 4 over the boundary.
Yeah, I mean, I just never heard the bloody word. But
no, absolutely.
Our kids, we talk to them all the time about boundaries. And oh my God, I would have had so much less chaos if I'd known the word.
But so we talk about boundaries so much, and yet so many people don't observe them. So it doesn't feel like it's dribbling through at all, does it? Do you know what I mean? I mean, we might talk about it.
No, but I don't. The thing is, it's got to be in. You can't look around the world asking for people to not cross boundaries. You have to know what your boundaries are.
It's your boundaries.
It's your boundary.
Right.
It's not a generic boundary, because I might have a boundary that wouldn't be your boundary at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, in many ways, a boundary is a metaphor for everything that's going wrong in the world, because boundaries is the problem in Ukraine. Boundaries is what defines war.
Yeah.
Maintaining your boundaries.
It's respecting that person's area, emotional, whatever needs. But it's to get the balance is incredibly hard when you start late in life like we have, because I definitely sometimes go too extreme and are like too tough.
Yeah.
Because I know, oh my God, right, this is a boundary that I've got now that I didn't have.
Just a quick one, Lamar, advocating for yourself when it comes to health. If the doctor dismisses you, you could be a people pleaser and say okay and leave or speak up for yourself, which wouldn't be people pleasing. That's interesting.
Exactly. Perfect example.
She also says that people pleasers associate their self-worth with the other person's satisfaction from their good deed, whereas those who are not people pleasers don't have their self-worth impacted by how others react. There's huge parallels here with codependency. Yeah. There's huge parallels. So CODA, which is a 12-step program for people who are codependent.
Like AA also.
Like AA. I remember going to a couple of CODA meetings, because I think everyone has an aspect of codependency, because it's about relating to any other human being. I've never seen a room in a 12-step program more, in many ways, sort of hamstrung by their addiction. because everyone else is with substance, a little bit like sex addiction, you know, their addiction was about relationships. And it was so traumatic. It was so traumatic.
Awful, so painful if you're a codependent, because like you say, everything has to go vicariously through somebody else. Like a classic codependency action would be, say somebody says to me, oh, so how are you doing? And I literally, in our early days, I used to say, oh yeah, I'm good. Nadia did it, and then you talk about
you talk about yourself through someone else.
You don't talk about yourself.
Everything about you is mediated through
someone
else. And her last definition is people pleasers find it, as we've just said, hard to set boundaries because they're afraid to disappoint others. Those who are simply nice know that they can set boundaries and be nice about it. Or firm about it. I mean, I always when I meet someone and they give a firm boundary, I sort of go, oh, bloody hell.
No, but you take offence. The part of why you've struggled with putting in a boundary is you hate it so much if you feel it from somebody else, because it's painful.
Right.
But that's all to do with the boundarylessness of it all.
Yeah, boundaryless. Okay, guys, we're going to have to go. So look, lots of love. We'll see you later. And something will be landing on the channel later tonight. If you haven't, check out Green Fingered Hell. It was very, 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 well, Nanny Dies very funny.